Foliar applications of urea in later growth stages will outperform any other form of nitrogen applied to the soil by a factor of 4 to 1 without any detrimental health effects. 5 pounds of foliar N as urea onto the leaf produces the same yield and growth and crop response as 20 pounds applied to the soil. 25% of your nitrogen application with sulfur and get the same or greater crop nitrogen response and have improving yield and health benefits. In the early establishment stages, germination and the first 3 to 4 weeks following seed germination, we need ammonium and nitrate to really drive rapid vegetative growth and rapid plant establishment. Urea in that particular context doesn't cut it and doesn't give us the performance that we get from a combination of ammonium and nitrate. And there's some slight variation from crop to crop, but to give you just some context on a corn crop, we are looking for 80% ammonium, 20% nitrate combination. That's where we get the highest yield performance. Other crops, you can go in ratios all the way down to a 50-50 combination. This is where there's some crop by crop nuance. But what happens here is and by the way, what I'm talking about is not the proportion of nitrogen that you apply, not the ratio of ammonium and nitrate that you apply, but the ratio that the plant absorbs. Those are two different things. You can apply an 80-20 ammonium to nitrate ratio, and the plant might be absorbing a 50-50 ratio in soil that is very warm, where you have lots of nitrification, lots of ammonium converting to nitrate. So that's the first principle. Early establishment stage, you need ammonium and nitrate in the soil. Second principle is up to 100 units of nitrogen. So some crops are going to require less, some crops might require more, but up to the first 100 pounds of nitrogen, you can replace 25% of your nitrogen application with sulfur and get the same or greater crop nitrogen response and have improving yield and health benefits from that. So if the historical application would be for 100 units of N, we would split that. We would go 75 units of N, 25 pounds of sulfur, and you'll get the same yield response and a much better quality response and reduce disease and insect resistance. So you can do that up to the threshold of 25 pounds. Past that threshold, the math changes, becomes a bit more convoluted. You still benefit from additional sulfur, but for the first 100 units of N, you can replace it with 25% sulfur, and you will never be able to tell the difference from a yield and performance perspective, except you'll have better quality. Next principle, foliar applications of urea in later growth stages will outperform any other form of nitrogen applied to the soil by a factor of 4 to 1 without any detrimental health effects. So this has been a big mover for us. The way our nitrogen recommendations commonly appear today is we will do 25 to 30% of the nitrogen requirements that a crop needs up front at planting in the form of some combination of ammonium and nitrate. We'll allow the plant to frame up, and then of course the farther north you go, the more compressed the season is, the more rapidly you have to get stuff done from a logistical perspective. But then we like to come in with multiple, if possible, foliar applications of urea in season. You put on a foliar application of 5 to 10 pounds of actual N as urea. You just think about the 4 to 1 rule of thumb. 5 pounds of foliar N as urea onto the leaf produces the same yield and growth and crop response as 20 pounds applied to the soil. That's a pretty substantial cost savings, and that's a very well-established number that has been established by experience and by research from research out of California and experience from a lot of farmers all the way across Canada and North America. And then the last principle that I'll add is If you want to really bump nitrogen use efficiency within the plant further, make sure that the plant has adequate carbohydrate levels. Perhaps put a little bit of sugar into that foliar spray with the urea, and pay particular attention to trace minerals, particularly to molybdenum. Molybdenum is the key enzyme cofactor for the nitrate reductase enzyme, and the plant's nitrate conversion efficiency, as well as the soil microbes' nitrate conversion efficiency, just reaches another league entirely when you have adequate molybdenum levels. So those are the kind of the four foundational principles that we use to put together nitrogen efficiency protocols. That's kind of the general shape and architecture that we build things within. And once you've done those foundational things, there is another level, and I don't know if we really have room to dive into this topic today, but there is another level of I'll just more broadly call it nutrient use efficiency, where we don't often realize this. This hasn't been really discussed agronomically historically, but the plant's internal physiology, the plant's metabolism, and its use efficiency of nitrogen and of potassium and of phosphorus and other macronutrients goes up dramatically. Like I'm talking 50 to 60, well, saying it a different way, there are substantially less pounds of each of those macronutrients required to grow a high-yielding crop when you have adequate levels of trace minerals. So we have historically not been paying adequate attention to boron and to manganese and to cobalt. And I'm of the persuasion that when we start addressing those minerals and we give them equal priority to how we manage nitrogen and phosphorus and potassium and other elements, we're going to get another 25 to 30% yield bump without any additional pounds of those nutrients required. And that's not a theory or a hypothesis. That's something those are the results we're actually observing over the last half a dozen years on a number of different farms. So I'm going to pause and call it a wrap there because I'm sure there'll be follow-up questions that I can respond to.